Hi guys, this is Alex and welcome back to my channel. Today we have a book about Coco Chanel. Here she is in her infamous suit. There's a nice little illustration. Wow, it's quite a look with the, I forget what this is called, like a, I want to say bird cage, but I know that's not true. Gabrielle Coco Chanel, photographed by Vladimir Rebinder in 1923. And there are many quotes attributed to Coco Chanel. This one is, "How many cares one loses when one decides not to be something but to be someone." For this chapter it's called Easy Elegance. By 1917, just 4 years after Coco Chanel had launched her own label, she was known on both sides of the Atlantic, and her clothes been illustrated in French, British, and American Vogue. Describing her as the dictator of Jersey, Vogue acknowledged that she had elevated a textile that had customarily been used to manufacture men's underwear to the rarefied realm of haute couture. This was no small feat. Not only that, the loose-fitting line of Chanel's smart frocks, cardigan suits, and long and ample coats with great pockets helped to hasten the demise of the corset. Oh, that's interesting. In her pared-down designs, it became ideally suited to women who were increasingly independent, on the move, navigating newfangled automobiles, for example, or riding the recently established Paris Underground Railway. This paragraph makes me think of Phryne Fisher from the Australian mystery series. The easy elegance which became Chanel's signature was already a hallmark of her clothes, but the wonders she worked with jersey belied the technical struggle involved in manipulating the pliant material into sophisticated garments. "I cried a lot," confessed Marie-Louise de Ray, who, as Chanel's premier, or workroom head, directed her seamstresses. Mademoiselle was demanding. If a fitting went wrong, she exploded. She was tough, unrelenting, but what she designed was sensational, both chic and exceedingly simple. As for the pockets which Vogue had noticed, Chanel explained that she incorporated these convenient functional features of a workman's dress into her design so that there was no need to carry a handbag. We love that. Here we get a little bit of background about Chanel. Gabrielle Chanel was born in 1983 in a poorhouse. She was one of 5 children of a penniless peasant couple, Jean de Vaux and Albert Chanel, a feckless peddler. Chanel's parents married in November 1884, and while Albert attempted to eke out a living, the family lived here and there in shabby lodgings, wrote Alex Madsen, her biographer. Life on the road, poverty, and constant pregnancies, however, took its toll on Jeanne, and she died of tuberculosis in 1895. Having arranged for his young sons to become farmhands, Albert put his daughters, Julia, Gabrielle, and Antoinette, in his horse-drawn buggy and deposited them in the grounds of Aubazine. Then he disappeared. Oh, that's sad. Chanel worked hard, slept on an iron bedstead in an unheated dormitory, and breakfasted on watered-down porridge. Among the mundane domestic tasks which she was required to perform in her time off from the 6-day school week was hemming bed sheets. Her uncompromising nature and strong will, as well as her superlative skill as a seamstress, surely developed at Aubazine. Wow. Seems very contemporary, doesn't it? At the orphanage, discipline was very strict, and the nuns swift to reprimand anyone whose work was clumsy or incompetent. 50 years later, a New York Times reporter witnessed Chanel perfecting a handmade suit in her Grand Paris atelier. "It was better when I pinned it together than when you sewed it," she shrieked, dismissing a premiere who had been toiling by her side for hours. Aubazine's stark atmosphere, its whitewashed, unadorned walls, and imposing doors painted, wrote Edmond Charles Roux, a black so deep, so noble that if you ever saw it, it would stay in your memory forever, are said to have inspired the onyx on bleached white palette, which came to define Chanel's brand identity and dominate the color scheme of its glossy product packaging as well as its couture collections. That's interesting too. Oh, and it sounds like there was also a mosaic at Aubazine that featured a moon and stars, which is a pattern on a lot of Chanel silks, this book says. The Maltese cross first appeared, rendered in brilliant, precious stones meticulously positioned to evoke a stained glass window, on matte white enamel cuff bracelets produced for Chanel in 1937 by the Sicilian jeweler Tucfuco di Verdura. When Justine Picardy visited the orphanage while researching her biography of Chanel, she discovered that the panes of Aubazine's opaque gray and pearl white windows formed geometric patterns, knots, and loops that look eerily like the double C of Chanel's logo. Wow. Okay, so after she left the orphanage, she found work in Moulins, a nearby garrison town. By day, she was a seamstress for a local draper, and in the evening she moonlighted as a poses or side act at La Rotonde, a local saloon where she made her money by passing around a hat after she had entertained the crowd. Oh. The soldiers found her adorable and christened her Coco, the name that featured in 2 of the catchy numbers she performed. By 1904, she was working on Sundays in a tailoring shop, and there she met Etienne Bassan, a French textile heir and racehorse owner. Nice. A year later, she moved into his chateau in Royalieu, a former royal hunting lodge where the free-spirited Bassan bred and trained horses. He became the first in a series of lovers who mentored and provided for her. However, Emilienne d'Alençon, a beautiful blonde courtesan turned cabaret star and one-time mistress of King Leopold II of Belgium, remained Balsan's official mistress, while charming provincial Coco became his playmate mistress. Oh, this is getting risque. Sounds like a tricky situation they were all in. So Chanel eventually started making hats for various aristocrats. On a fox hunt in the Pyrenees, she met Arthur Boy Capel. Legend has it she fell in love with the wealthy British businessman on the spot. When she expressed her desire to become a milliner in Paris, he encouraged her. So on the day Capel departed the hunt, Chanel followed him to the railway station and stopped him in his tracks as he was boarding the express train to Paris. Sweeping Chanel up in his arms, Capel carried her into the sleeper car and she never looked back. Wow, that's romantic. This is an interesting quote. A young woman shouldn't be elaborate. You know, it kind of reminds me of, it sounds kind of harsh, but I think what she's getting at is that, you know, the beauty of youth is so natural and stunning. Like, you don't really need a lot of adornment in your youth. And I remember watching a John Waters stand-up comedy presentation of some sort, and someone in the audience asked him, what are your style tips? And he said, you know, if you're young, you really don't have to worry. You can make a band-aid look good. And I always think about that. It's funny. A global financial center, Paris was also Europe's art capital. The Impressionists and Post-Impressionists had made Paris not only the site of artistic modernism, but also its subject matter. It meant that artists from the world over seeking to explore the cutting edge of their discipline were doubly drawn to the French capital. There were more artists per square meter there than in any location in the world. Chanel would blaze her own fashion trail in this world and be able to count many well-known artists and writers, including Cocteau, Diaghilev, Picasso, and Dali, as personal friends. The old world glamour of the couturiers Worth and Doucet, much of whose work made reference to 18th and 19th century painting, was becoming out of step with the brisk pace of Paris life. It was Paul Poiret who reigned as the king of fashion with his Far Eastern-inspired exotica like harem pants, turbans, and ankle-grazing hobble skirts. Chanel's millinery was minimalist compared with the overblown look of the time. And these are some illustrations featured in Vogue from 1917 to 1918. It's cool that they featured like fashion drawings prominently in a magazine rather than only photography. Wow, it's quite a look. When the First World War broke out in July the following year, her clothes were in tune with the new mood of austerity and were also to prove practical yet elegant for the voluntary work to which noblewomen devoted themselves when Deauvy's grand hotels became hospitals. As Frances Kennett wrote, Chanel was quick to pick up on trends and mannerisms and could tell what was right or wrong with one glance at a client. This unerring eye gradually established her as an arbiter of taste. One of her clients, Baroness Eugène Kitty de Rothschild, began to rely on Chanel for style guidance. She also propelled Chanel to fame by publicly declaring, "I shan't buy a thing without showing her. That child's got more taste than the rest put together." Soon the society beauties in Baroness de Rothschild's circle, including Countess de Bracontal and Princess de Faucigny-Lucinge, Lusange, sorry, you get to witness so much of me struggling to pronounce things, became Chanel's clients too. Vogue depicted another client, the flamboyant Comédie Française actress Cécile Sorel, in stage clothes that Chanel had personally conceived for her. I wonder if this is Cécile Sorel. Okay, so she was so successful that she was able to create her own couture house. She had used jersey for sweaters since 1914. In 1916, she purchased a batch of machine-made beige jersey at a substantial discount from textile manufacturer Jean Rodier. Nobody else wanted it, but it proved to be Chanel's masterstroke. Because with this material, together with her team of 60, she produced the Biarritz collection. I have no idea. A groundbreaking line of jersey tailoring. Among the pieces were an unfitted, unadorned, a fitted frock coat, which ended midway down the skirt, a straight tunic with a hip-slung bow, a shirtwaist featuring a daring ankle-length hem, and a chemise dress which garnered Chanel her first piece of publicity when Harper's Bazaar featured it. Vogue proclaimed that in Chanel's hands, jersey had attained the distinction of being a classic tissue which ranked with serge and velours de laine. Designs that were to become Chanel's trademarks appeared in Vogue in 1917, including ensembles composed of coats strikingly lined with a graphic printed silk matching the pattern featured upon the dresses they topped. Spain's neutrality during the First World War meant that elegance was still permissible among its elite, and the wealthy women of Madrid, San Sebastian, Barcelona, and Bilbao ordered Chanel's minimalist, made-to-measure jersey ensembles by the dozen. I like this. She had been determined never to undervalue herself or her work, and her price tags were stratospheric. She was independent, and as her friend Paul Morand wrote at the time, definitely a personnage. You had to see her getting out of her Rolls Royce in big loose jerseys that were simple as boarding schoolgirl's frock. Recalled Marie-Louise Duray. She looked like a queen. Some more designs, illustrations. I love the simplicity of these illustrations. It's very Art Nouveau, kind of, especially this one. Of an artist. I have heard that quote before. Perfume is the unseen, unforgettable, ultimate accessory of fashion. It heralds your arrival and prolongs your departure. In both good and bad ways, depending on the perfume. Illustration from Vogue again. It's for an article entitled "Small Points of Large Importance in the Paris Mode in 1924." Very like Great Gatsby style. In 1918, at the end of the war, Chanel relocated her couture house from Biarritz to Paris, back to Rue Cambon, but to much larger premises in a 6-story building at 31 Rue Cambon. This business base was the first of 8 properties stretching down the street that Chanel acquired through the 1920s. The most important was number 31. This housed her extravagantly decorated apartment and her minimalist, mirrored couture salon, as well as her design studio, where over the next few years she pioneered a new way forward for feminine luxury. Sumptuous embellishment such as jet and crystal fringe, diamante, and metallic lace now adorned her evening wear, while the instantly recognizable, straight, slim Chanel silhouette tempered the enrichment. In a Vogue essay, the painter Sir Francis Rose alluded to the uniquely exquisite feminine delicacy of Chanel and compared her light-handed touch to the overwrought workmanship of Paquin. This old-guard Paris couture house, the first to be founded by a woman, Jeanne Paquin, I'm not sure, in 1891, seemed to be struggling to keep pace with Chanel's polished modernity. I forced my mother to buy a Chanel dress to replace a black taffeta dinner dress by Paquin, which I hated because it was covered with hand-painted stencils over large oranges and scarlet poppies, recounted Rose. I like this quote. A beautiful dress might look beautiful on a hanger, but that means nothing. It must be seen on the shoulders with the movement of the arms, the legs, and the waist. This illustration is by Porter Woodruff for Vogue Paris. Oh, this is an illustration of a Chanel fashion show. I love this. This is really cool. The lithe figures, the movement, and I love how they're line of looking at one another. And then we have the spectators here. Illustrating a society ball, right? Vogue reported that Madame Jacques Porel chose a Chanel gown, one of those slim models of diamante and crystal. This is quite a look here. I think it's interesting because I feel like so many of these, I'm not a fashion expert, but I feel like so many of these silhouettes are very popular right now. I think the slouchy, kind of oversized, but also slim look, a lot of simplicity and drapiness. I feel like that's very popular right now. 2021, 100 years later. On the 22nd of December in 1919, Boy Capel, who had by then been married to an English aristocrat for just over a year, was tragically killed in a car accident. His death was a terrible blow to me, Chanel reflected many years later. In losing Capel, I lost everything. For companionship, she turned to a Russian émigré, the extremely handsome and charming but impoverished Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich, whom she and Capel had known since the 1910s in Paris. It was Pavlovich who forged Chanel's connection with Ernest Beau, the perfumer responsible for Chanel's most lucrative sideline, her signature scent, No. 5. I actually have a few Chanel perfumes. This is the famous Chanel No. 5. I like Chanel No. 5. I don't really wear it on a regular basis, but it is a classic scent. And it's very identifiable. I would say it's mostly just extremely powdery. But it's a pretty fragrance for sure. It's a classic. I really wanted to show my teeny tiny baby bottle of Chanel Coromandel, which is my favorite perfume of all time. It's like a winter perfume. And it smells just like white chocolate. But I couldn't find it. When Rowlett established a laboratory in Grasse in the south of France after the Russian Revolution, Beau became manager there, and Chanel met him in 1920 while she and Pavlovich holidayed nearby in Monte Carlo. Beau developed number 5 by experimenting with a floral eau de cologne he had created in 1914 to honor Pavlovich's female relatives. Chanel adored flowers, but she explained to the perfumer that she wanted her scent to be an original blend of an array of floral notes, unlike the single note scents which had been around for years. "I don't want hints of roses or of lilies of the valley," she explained. "I am an artisan, so I want a perfume that is composed." A paradox. "One thing is certain," said fragrance expert Michael Edwards of that initial encounter. "Chanel wanted a tenacious perfume that clung to the skin and was as versatile as her clothes." Beau presented Chanel with 10 sample scents, organized, he recalled, in 2 series, 1 to 5 and 20 to 24. Ultimately, number 5, composed of rose, jasmine, ylang-ylang, and sandalwood, seduced her. Beau suggested that a preventative measure against piracy would be to make the formula too expensive to imitate. "Do it, I want to make the world's most expensive perfume," was her response. She had the budget to produce it, paying for Beau's services with £40,000, today's equivalent of $1 million US, left to her in Boy Capel's will. "What name will you give it?" Beau asked Chanel as his formula was finalized. "We will let this sample number 5 keep the name it has already. It will bring good luck," she is said to have replied. She's right about that. Oh, it says here that Coco had an affinity for the number 5. Oh, and in her school days at Aubazine, emphasis was on numerology, and 5 symbolized the pure embodiment of a thing. It's interesting that numerology would be included in a curriculum. Okay, this is about the design of the bottle. Maurice Despinois, who operated Despinois Glass Works, an important producer of perfume bottles, helped her conceive number 5's legendary transparent hard-edged cube-shaped flacon at some point before the war, according to his daughter Janine. Its minimalist look adhered to Chanel's fashion philosophy of costly simplicity and would prove not only directional, since it was the antithesis of the objet d'art containers innovated by François Coty, but also absolutely timeless. Yeah, it's still so like classic looking. I love this illustration here. It's really neat. Chanel returned to Paris with 100 bottles of the scent and set to work launching it with a strategy of stealth. "The perfume? What perfume?" she would ask, feigning surprise when some of her top clients, to whom she had given bottles of number 5, requested more from her. She also instructed her sales girls to spray the scent in her boutique fitting rooms, although she never disclosed this to the clients. So that's very smart. Chanel's plan to leave her customers wanting more number 5 until Beau had the capacity to produce it in large quantities came off. The perfume became known as the Golden Liquid, the treasure of the Chanel empire, and today a bottle is sold every 30 seconds, according to the French government. It generates annual sales of $100 million thanks to Parfum Chanel, the company that Chanel established in 1924 with the backing of Pierre and Paul Wertheimer. Beau served as its technical director for 30 years. He concocted other perfumes for her, and although many were successful, none reached either the sales or the iconic status of number 5. As Pavlovich's relationship with Chanel intensified, he discreetly worked alongside her. Thanks to him, a network of émigrés who fled from Russia to Paris after the Bolshevik Revolution found work at the House of Chanel. While pretty young Russian women worked as her salesgirls and models, Count Kutuzov, the former governor of Crimea, the Ukrainian Republic on the Black Sea's northern coast, worked his way up from the doorman at 31 Rue Cambon to be Chanel's business manager. That's an interesting story. I've never seen the film about Coco with Marion Cotillard, I think. But now I'm kind of curious about it, given her backstory is pretty interesting. I like that hat. It looks like a crown. Yes, these outfits definitely seem modern to me. Some Russian inspiration here. Also, this illustration is really beautiful by Ronaldo Luza. Pavlovich's imperial past was also the source of inspiration for much of Chanel's early costume jewelry. His mother had died in childbirth, and he had been brought up by his aunt, Grand Duchess Elizabeth Ella Fyodorovna, from whom he inherited a sumptuous jewelry collection. We love a man with a jewelry collection. This included a gold necklace with long irregular chains. A 15-strand necklace of small rubies twisted to look like a rope, and a 32-string pearl necklace which Pavlovich may have given Chanel, even though the Romanov jewels were his sole valuables by the time he had reached France. And he, in fact, connected her with her next partner. In Monte Carlo, they were holidaying and enjoyed an evening with Hugh Grosvenor, the second Duke of Westminster, and he invited them to dinner on his yacht, the Flying Cloud, which was moored in the harbor. In contrast to Chanel's young Russian lover, Bender, as this cousin of King George V was known, was enormously wealthy. The New York Times notice of his first marriage claimed he was the richest English duke and one of Great Britain's wealthiest men. Recently separated from Violet, his second wife, Bender was regarded as Europe's most desirable bachelor and appropriately known as the Golden Duke. That's a beautiful photo. It's a very elegant gown. Just the simplicity is stunning. She really was full of quotes, if these are all really hers. The Duke of Westminster was instantly smitten with Chanel. She was French and lively, he discovered as she enjoyed the gypsy orchestra he hired to serenade her in the cozy English country house ambiance of the Flying Cloud's quarters. Unlike his former wives and the aristocratic women in his social circle, Chanel was financially independent and self-made, which he greatly admired. For Chanel, Bender's charms proved impossible to resist. His largesse transformed her lifestyle. At the bottom of a large crate of fresh farm vegetables he sent her from Cheshire, for instance, her butler discovered a huge rough-cut emerald in a velvet box, while his aristocratic lifestyle and English milieu gave her design a new direction. Oh, that's cool. So So here they are in 1924 together. This is a painting by the surrealist artist Giorgio de Chirico. This is a portrait of the hands of Coco Chanel by Andre Cortez. Shows them resting on a bolt of cloth, holding a designer's pencil, and as always adorned with jewelry. It's a beautiful photograph. It's another photo of Coco. By Cecil Beaton. And this kind of flat lay illustration is from the 1930s in a Vogue magazine. She really did have a fantastic eye. There's some bangles she produced in the 1960s. I love that. A 1925 illustration of a graceful frock of black mousseline de Sol shows Chanel's style of wearing long ropes of pearls flowing down the back. It's a stunning photograph. I won't read the title of the article that accompanied that photo, but it is a stunning photo. Here's a portrait by Cecil Beaton, or Cecil Beaton. Or I'm totally getting it wrong, I'm sure, on both accounts. She herself mixed her precious stones with faux baubles while wearing suits or dresses, pioneering a look Jane Woolvag described as nonchalance de luxe. Vogue, meanwhile, advised its readers to wear Chanel pearls in pink, blue, almond, and gray, and so big that no one could mistake them for real ones. Yeah, I think the oversized pearl aesthetic is very much associated with Chanel. Some LBDs. This one's cute. Black is the smartest among colors for evening, said Vogue in 1926, showing a Porter Woodruff illustration of a Georgette crepe dress with long silk fringes trimming the skirt and bodice and a deep back décolletage left. Simplicity and slim lines characterize a shimmering black velvet dress trimmed with monkey fur. Oh, I don't like that. In 1920. That's this one. There's some models. It seems so modern for that period of time, doesn't it? Because in a way, it's like it really emphasizes someone's natural shape. I don't think that was very in before this point. This is a wedding gown. I really like this sketch. Okay, now we're in the Age d'Or. In the summer of 1929, when Chanel was on the Côte d'Azur, Grand Duke Dimitri introduced her to his friend Samuel Goldwyn, who was on holiday nearby in Monte Carlo. Goldwyn was a renowned Hollywood producer who surrounded himself with the best creative talent money could buy, said David Niven, believing that the prestige of Chanel's name would improve his box office profits. Goldwyn attempted to lure Chanel to Hollywood to design costumes for his productions by offering her $1 million US. He imagined that Chanel couture could transform the increasingly popular genre of costume pictures. Before the advent of television, women looked to these opulent romantic fantasies for entertainment and style inspiration. The striking finery worn on screen by leading ladies such as Claudette Colbert, Marlene Dietrich, Dolores Del Rio, and Ginger Rogers, oh, I love Ginger Rogers, was customarily produced by highly skilled Los Angeles costumers, including Adrienne Rosenberg, Edith Head, Travis Banton, and Howard Greer. Just like Paris couturiers, these designers set trends whose influence spread far beyond the studio. Sounds like she wasn't too interested. But within 2 years, she had changed her mind and accepted his offer. The October 1929 Wall Street crash had severely affected the French fashion industry. By the summer of 1930, it became apparent that rich, free-spending Americans were curtailing their European tours. This forced Chanel, like her competitors, to reduce the price of her couture by half and experiment with inexpensive materials, including piqué cotton, and when sales remained sluggish, she also made staff cuts. This is a beautiful lame dress, wow. It's Gloria Swanson in a great work of art, her Chanel costume in 1931's Tonight or Never. I didn't know this, that she designed costumes for Hollywood. Some stunning photographs here. Oh, this is from last year in Marienbad, which is a very odd film. I'm learning so much, guys. Apparently Salvador Dali designed or choreographed a ballet. Is that what this is? He choreographed a ballet for the Ballet Russe in Monte Carlo in 1939. Interesting, and she designed costumes for it. Oh, interesting. Lounge pajamas and trousers. Looks like she's settling down somewhere. La Posa. Monaco, is that right? In the magnificent, spare, and elegant entrance hall at La Posa, Chanel installed an immense stone staircase based on her childhood memories of the stairs at the Corrèze monastery. It's been interesting to be an extremely wealthy woman in the early 1900s. Some taffeta gowns or tulle gowns. Some color drawings. Sounds like her time in La Posa influenced her designs. Rene Boucher illustrates the Chanel theme song as Vogue described this 1959 ribbed wool jersey suit in navy edged with white and slotted with a belt in the style of a Norfolk jacket. Yeah, that's kind of an iconic design, isn't it? Chanel lived out the Second World War in Paris at the Hotel Ritz. At the end of the hostilities, her future was uncertain. Because they're framing up Christian Dior as like one of her competitors. Chanel regarded Dior's style, which the book describes as a lot of full skirts and gowns. She regarded Dior's style as excessive, vulgar, and old-fashioned. Legend has it that it was her reaction to a dress of that kind which galvanized her into picking up her scissors once again. This is a sketch of an interview for Vogue. This is around a time where she's starting to reopen her salon. This is a piece from her comeback collection. This looks like a Dior piece, but it's a Chanel piece. Chanel told Rosamond Bernier that women over 20 needed the grace of a little something over their shoulders or over the top of the arms, and Vogue noted her love of coverage in this black velvet evening dress of 1954 with its comfortable shirt-style top above a tiered skirt. There's a sketch by Boucher of a Chanel fashion show in 1957. I just love the depth and composition of this illustration. Beautiful. Here's the famous suit of the cover. I do like the boyishness of some of her designs. Anouk Aimée, she's an actress that's been in a lot of 60s films, I think. I remember her name. Some nice photos. They were into the swinging 60s with these jumpsuits. Chanel in her apartment in 1965. Very ornate. Look at this chandelier. This like brocade. from Rosemary's Baby. This photo. Oh, and she's got the famous diamond quilted bag here. I think Mia Farrow is like a particularly good candidate to wear Chanel. I love Mia Farrow. Okay, so this is about kind of the end of her life. Work became her obsession at the end of her life. She now lived permanently at the Hotel Ritz, where the exceptional comfort and service provided her not only with security, but also allowed her to focus her energy totally on producing her collections. You can eat when you like, you needn't go out if you don't want to, she said. I don't want to have obligations. Okay, this sounds like what I might end up doing. Sounds very much like me. From the outbreak of the Second World War until her death in 1971, the white-walled three-room suite at the top of the hotel served as her living quarters. From the tall windows set deep into its slanting roof, she could look out onto Place Vendôme. Today, the ambiance of the Coco Chanel suite at the Ritz is opulent and features the gilded, dusky lacquer Coromandel screens that dominated Chanel's Rue Cambon apartment. But during her tenure there, the atmosphere was Spartan. My 3 attics, she said, one to sleep in, one to talk in, and one to wash in. César Ritz built this hotel specifically with feminine comfort in mind. While agonizing over the lighting, he discovered that lampshades of apricot pink silk exuded a glow that was most becoming for a woman's complexion. I appreciate that. And in the flattering pink light of those old-fashioned crêpe de chine lampshades, Chanel's biographer, Claude Delay, observed her subject in her final days. Chanel's bedchamber at the Ritz functioned as her office, and she rose at 7:30 a.m. every day. Reposing in white silk men's-style pajamas that were made for her at her couture house, she consumed porridge, coffee, and filter cigarettes, and read the newspaper and talked on the phone in her distinct, deep-timbered, rapid-paced French. Characteristically outspoken, Chanel was a tireless gossip. When someone alerted her best friend, Monsieur Serre, who was on her deathbed in October 1950, that Coco was on the way, certes, too weakly to cope with Chanel's chatter, was heard to sigh, "Coco, that will finish me." That's funny. There's some spicy takes from Chanel. Can't say I don't agree. So she was still working on a spring-summer couture collection when she passed away. Her final words to her assistants Lilou and Francois were prescient. "No nonsense after I'm dead, because I'll still be there beside you in another dimension." I love it. The sass. Don't think you can get rid of me that easily. It's a great picture. I love the slight smile. Here we have her, Chanel. So guys, thanks again for taking the time to watch this video. I didn't know much about Coco Chanel, so it was exciting to learn a little bit about her life and her work. I was thinking with the next couple of videos that I might cover some Art Nouveau artists. And just as a little preview, I'll show you what the books are. This is a book about the artist Gustav Klimt, famously painted The Kiss. It's quite the book. There's The Kiss. I love Klimt. He's one of my favorite artists. So, don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in Klimt. Thanks again for taking some time out of your busy day to read with me. As always, if you have any requests or suggestions, I'm more than happy to see what I can do. Just hit me up with a comment. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.